You're watching Footy Fantasy. It is your steady thing go reach your football needs. Banter from rivalries, he sure you go receive. From EPL to Champions League, your eyes go see. It's Footy Fantasy. You're watching Footy Fantasy. Footy Fantasy. It is your steady thing go meet your football need. Your football need. Banter from rivalries, he sure you go receive. Sure you go receive. From EPL to Champions League, your eyes go see. Your eyes go see. It's Footy Fantasy. Footy Fantasy.
Welcome to another episode of our Footy Fantasy podcast. We have on the show today returning guest. I think you've only been on here once, twice. Am I right? Turkish one.
Yeah, twice maybe. Yeah, way
Twice,
back
okay.
then, and I think it was like last season in the preseason or something like that.
Okay. That's like probably 2-3 years ago. Good to have you here. I'm sure you're excited to be here.
Oh, it's a great day to be here, man. It's a great day to be
I can see the host calling me back. I'll probably just be here for a couple of minutes before Buchi comes and take over the show. Obi, thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here. Another season. Glad to be here.
Obi, my Arsenal friend. It's a fantastic one. Before I go, let me do quick admin. Footy Fantasy on Twitter, where we're to 1.5K. YouTube, we're to 1.3K. Instagram, follow us. Our fantastic intro music is by friend of the show, SJ Music, so G. You can find him on Instagram, SJ Music. Let's dive right in. Man City, Liverpool. This is one of those games where if there was any doubts, in my opinion, regarding the title race, where it's going, I think this has sealed it, in my opinion. This has sealed it. I saw the full game, and as the goals were going in, I was like, title number 20 is about to be gold. How did you see it? What was your feeling watching it? Let's start with you, Turkish one. What was your feeling watching it?
Honestly, it's like, it's an odd feeling because you're not used to watching a Liverpool game where we're kind of absorbing pressure and playing defense, right? You're usually like the opposite way. You have more of the possession. But and I mean, you know me, I'm as nervous as they get, as panicky as they get. So I don't like it when the other team has the ball. But the more the game keeps going on, you're like, you can have the ball. Like nothing is coming out of it because they could not create anything. And when you have people like Mo and stuff, and you can hit, I mean, that's City's weakness. I actually kind of admire the way Slot went about this. I think it was a gutsy call to say, you know what? Yeah, you guys can have the ball. We'll counter it because that's when you suck, when people counter on you. And it worked. I mean, it looked like I say, when the other team has the ball, I'm always going to be nervous. But it looked like they could have played for another like 45 minutes. And City was not going to get a goal in. And if anything, we were going to get more on the counter and stuff like that. I mean, I'll be honest, I was worried going into this weekend. But after the Arsenal result yesterday, this almost became like a throwaway game. And if you win it, you got it. But even if you don't win it, it's not the end of the world. Because not only Arsenal lost points, Arsenal showed that, for all those panicky fans, that they're not going to win every game. It's not like we have a lot of PTSD from like City, where they can go on like a 15-game winning streak and stuff like that. I think just that Arsenal game alone showed that, yeah, this ain't happening. Like, they're not going to win every game anyway. So we don't have to be as perfect as we're used to having to be when you go with, like, City head-to-head in those title races. Have to get, like, 98 points, 100 points and stuff like that. So, but watching the game, yeah, I mean, this is odd feeling, but it felt so controlled and, like, a lot of defensive work. And, yeah, I mean, City is obviously nowhere near where they were. But it's still City, man. They have a lot of dangerous people. And at the end of the day, getting those freaking like 3 points and getting out of there. A place we have not won in the league in like 10 years or something like that. Like even in the top of the club era, it's a top place to go into and get 3 points out of. So to come with 3 points, especially after yesterday's result. I know, Ovi, I'm sorry. I keep rubbing it in. But, it kind of like seals the deal. To me, at least.
Okay. One win. It's been one win in 15 games, I think, at the Etihad. I saw that's Liverpool's record there. I guess from my own opinion, before I come to you, Ovi, I knew immediately Haaland got injured, I think in the last game. And I was like, no Haaland. Like City are struggling out of possession, right? Just from a tactical point, when I watch it, that's their biggest problem. Out of possession. Against the best team in the league, I knew they were going to struggle. But at least they had one get out, I guess, clause that they used against. I think they used against Chelsea, they used against Newcastle. That long ball from Ederson to Haaland, and they have runners off Haaland. Like they're literally using Haaland as the pivot. They bypass the midfield, and everybody runs off Haaland. When I heard Haaland was injured, I was like, that's the only chance they have in this game. When Haaland out injured, because Mamouche is not, there's nobody you can't bypass the midfield anymore. So they have to build slowly, and Liverpool is just going to press the hell out of them and just win the ball, and they'll make mistakes, and that's literally what happened. They'll press the hell and they'll give up the ball, transition, Salah is going to kill them. So really, I saw Haaland was injured, I knew it was over. I knew it was over, especially then Arsenal losing. Ovi, before I go to Ovi, the host Bucci is here. He says he wants us to get him out of here. Yeah, mute Bucci. I think I muted you before you jump. You can go with mute.
Oh yeah. Like I don't know why you guys gotta bring me through this all the time. Come and go through this virtual torture. Yeah, with a Liverpool fan gloating like like he won the lottery. And that Arsenal fan is there. He doesn't know if he wants to cry or not. But you can imagine if an Arsenal fan is crying, what am I supposed to be doing? I'm supposed to be wailing and gnashing my teeth. But I just watched Liverpool this season has shown us what transition is, and something Manchester United have struggled with for the past 12 years since Sir Alex Ferguson left. Almost seamless transition. The first transition was when Klopp had his first great team, then he had to rebuild another one, and he did it very well. It was quite unfortunate for Klopp. Well, I'm quite happy it was unfortunate that he only won a couple of titles, one league title and one Champions League titles. But the teams he built deserved far better than that. And then now Klopp steps down and he gave this guy what you would call a half-complete team. From what we saw, we thought beginning of this season that Liverpool had so many holes. They had an aging defense. They had only Salah as a potent striker. The midfield was very inexperienced and kind of a mishmash of players. And as I pointed out, the genius move that Slot made was moving Gravenberch, the player you Liverpool fans wanted to be sold, moving him to 6. And then the guy is thriving. And then all of a sudden, these guys that are, with all due respect, all generally average midfielders are looking like the best thing since sliced bread. They look like they're the best midfield in Europe. I mean, I could arguably say that they are the best midfield in Europe. So, with all due respect, I don't want to be here, man. I shouldn't be sitting down here and singing praise of Liverpool. It's the worst thing. I mean, it's a case of either Liverpool wins another title, or which will be the 20th, matching Manchester United, or I see Arsenal win a first title in 21 years, and it's just shoot me, please. Just
I'll still pass on the host to you. I'll leave for a minute, and I think I'll come back later when it's time for kudos and donkey. I have a rant that I want to do, but Ovi, what are your thoughts? Again,
I mean,
I'm a fan, and I guess the only title challenger this season. If you guys are challengers,
I mean, we're just title challengers by the fact that we are second. That's it. That's the reason why we're called title challenger at this point. It's Liverpool have been consistent. You have to give it to them. When they start the season, we say, oh, they have easy games. They will drop some points. But they've maintained the consistency. But you already mentioned that they repurposed some midfielders, and that helped stabilize the team. They've been, like I said before, I know you laugh at me, they've had the luck of champions. They've had very little injury to key players. So they have been able to turn out the same teams over and over again, which has helped them. And it's good, and there's nothing wrong in that. That's how you know you're gonna win. Is when the 50-50s are breaking your way. That's fine. They've played well. They've beaten Madrid. They've beaten Man City. They've beaten all the big teams. I mean, so you cannot say, oh, they've been lucky. They've played well. And Arsenal fans, it will hurt a lot because we all felt was going to be our year. Because we could already tell from last season that Man City was already on the decline. You could see it. And once Rodri got injured, we thought, oh, that was it. This is it. It's over. We're going to win. So the fact that Liverpool now came and is the one that is going to most likely win now, it will hurt even more. But you can't blame the fans. You can't blame the players. You can't blame the coach. You have to blame the board. They gave up on this season before the rest of the other people. There was no excuse not strengthening in the attack. And this is all the way from the summer. They gave them a second lifeline in January transfer. They refused to take it. So for now, anything they get this year is going to be well deserved. So it will only change if next season they live up to the promise of saying, no, we don't want to buy this player because we have players we want to buy, and they actually buy those players. So for now, the board, the people making decisions above Arteta and co, including Arteta too, because he's the manager, he's not just a coach. They all deserve this big L. They gave up on the season, and that's just a simple fact. I'm one of the most optimistic Arsenal fans you see out there. But even me, before Havertz and Martinelli got injured, I was already saying we are 1 or 2 short. So after that, you still lost 2 more players. There's just no coming back from that. You can win 1 or 2 games here and there. It's not sustainable. And that's just the fact. I feel Liverpool will drop enough points for Arsenal to catch up, but I feel Arsenal will not win enough games to catch up. So it's just that simple. There's just nothing. It's just not feasible. I'm more worried about Europe at this point. I don't think they can go far in Europe again, considering they draw their own. So it's just a season where the board wrote us off early, and we as fans should just learn to. I know it's painful. The people say, oh, Banta FC, Netflix FC, TV show, whatever it is that they say, just take it in, take it like a man, and come back next season. That's all you got to do.
Am I hearing Arteta out there?
No. I mean, people are above it. No.
Wait, pause first. I want to take some comments. Ovi, let's pause for a minute. Let's take these comments, then I'll bring you in again. Akinola Adigun says, good evening, gentlemen. Ogakwame says, shout out to our Turkish brother here. Welcome, Timuchin. Yes, you're indeed welcome. I hope you don't have such a good time.
It's too late for that, man.
I mean, it's a prayer now. It's nothing I can do. Ogakwame says, Ovi out here preaching from the book of Lamentations, which is quite right. Ovi, please continue. You were lamenting about Arteta, please.
No.
So are you Arteta out now?
No. I mean, at this point, you cannot, because he openly came out and said we need players. The board refused to. I mean, like I said, the end justifies the means. So if next season they come and they win the league and they win the league, oh, they're going to complain. But for now, where we are at, any banter, the club deserves it, because the people at the highest, people making decisions, decided to give up early because they just felt it wasn't worth the extra money to try and chase Liverpool. So it's their fault. We just have to accept it. We're a club that was shy to make mistakes. And if you're shy to make mistakes, sometimes you end up doing nothing, which is what we did. We're afraid of Pepe all over again, trying to buy a player that was overpriced. And we just said, rather than do that, just do nothing. So you got to take all that L very well, carry it like a cross. And that's all I can say. It's easy, it's clear. The board gave up before the manager and the player. The players have given their all. Once teams have been in this, Liverpool, I remember the season when Liverpool won the league, and the next season they came 5th when they were decimated with injuries. So the fact that we are still 2nd shows that we're still a good side. It's just that they didn't do enough, because they've gotten to the point where you need something special to go to that next level. And they've just decided they were not ready for it, or they just were too afraid to make those big decisions. So you can see examples of teams like Man U and United and Tottenham with a lot of injuries, but you can see where they are. So the fact that Arsenal with injuries are still pushing 2nd, they're a good side. There's no doubt about that. But they are just afraid to make the next step. And maybe they will in the summer. Maybe that's where we are. But for now, this season, they have to hold IL. They have to accept everything that comes their way in terms of criticism, in terms of banter. And then I say, as an institution, they should hopefully get whatever they need to decide on, the sporting director, whatever it is, settle down and make the right decisions to make us as fans forget about this season. That's my
I
point.
think sometimes as fans, I said this about Arsenal a few times. I've said this about Arsenal a few times, and I'll say it again. As fans, sometimes we are in a hurry to get somewhere. We forget that the grass is not always green or green on the other side. Um, Sometimes sports has a very weird way of doing things because, what we said, we did not expect Liverpool to be this good. And Liverpool, you said, were actually quite lucky because if Liverpool had suffered the injuries that Man City or Arsenal or Manchester United or Tottenham have suffered, they wouldn't be first. So they've had that break in their way. Because if this was the other way around, if Liverpool were having those injuries, their fans would be saying exactly what you were saying. So maybe the issue here is not that the clubs are giving up. Maybe the issue is actually the PSR, the profitability and sustainability rules. And why I'm mentioning that is that in the past 2-3 years, Arsenal have spent quite a bit of money on other parts of the team. What they seem to have done was made wrong priorities. That's where I believe they made a mistake, in that they've always had an injury-prone striker in Gabriel Jesus, and they did not buy a second striker. Then they sold Nketiah. That for me was the main mistake. But Arsenal have actually spent money, because you guys are the guys that spent £100 million, £105 million on Declan Rice. That could have gone on the striker, but you do not have £100 and something million to spend every season. And all the top strikers in Europe now are going to be 60, 70, 80 million upwards. It's quite scarce to find a good striker who's cheaper than that.
Sorry, let me get back. Let me counter that. So the issue with that is, yes, they've not spent those money, or yes, they've bought players. But Declan Rice was needed last season because we needed anchor in the midfield. This season they made a profit. They sold Emil Smith Rowe, they sold Eddie Nketiah, they sold Ramsdale. Those three alone is pushing 70, 80 million already. So they've made a lot and they bought Calafiori and Merino. The issue is, when you're buying a good defender, look at Timber, top class young defender. It's cheap. It's 35 billion. You buy him, you take the gamble. A medium tier to top striker, like you said, 60 and above. So they are afraid to make the mistake. Watkins was presented to them. Waterville had to sell somebody. They said, you know what, take Watkins for 60 million. Arsenal said, no, it's 30. It's almost going to be 30. We can only pay 40. So little things like that, because, and like I said, it might be right. In 2 years' time, we might say, okay, maybe in summer they get Isaac and everybody's happy and they win on. Fine. But until then,
Isaac is not going to be less than 120, but go on.
Yeah, I don't get an example. Like, until then, you have to hold the L. Because right now they said, we have players we want to buy in the summer. Zubimendi, Nico Williams, Isaac, whatever it is. We don't want to buy a Watkins for 60 million and then Isaac is available in the summer, or Sesko is available in the summer, we can't buy the player. All that's fine and good if in the summer you buy the player. But if you don't buy the player, which of course we know, I mean, we're football fans, 6 months is a long time. A lot of things can change in 6 months. So that is where they just said, you know what, rather than buy a player we're not sure about, let's just hold on till the summer, we'll buy the players we want as our first choice. We have all this money now from selling homegrown players like Eddie Nketiah, Ramsdale, Emil Smith Rowe, big. So we have, Arsenal is not struggling with PSR. Arsenal is the one thing not struggling with PSR. I can guarantee you that. They sold a lot of homegrown players for big money. But what is killing them is this struggle between medium, short-term to long-term goals. They want the perfect player for the perfect position. In defense, it's easy because you can buy a Timber for 35 million, 30 million. You can go and buy a Calafiori for 30, 35 million. It's easy. You can buy young upcoming, but even young upcoming strikers, 60, 70 million. And they don't want to commit that money. They have, instead of being brave to make that decision, they are over deliberating and ending up not doing anything. So I think that's the issue. It's not like, we know they spent money. They bought the Declan Rice. They have the money. It's just the fear of making a mistake. it's handicapping them because they are just saying, let's get our perfect option or nothing at all. And you can't do that. I mean, you can do that, but what that means is you've given up on this season, and which is what they've done. So you try for next. The players are not giving up, but the club on the board level had already given up.
Oga Kwame has this to say. He says 105 million on basmati rice. Enjoy your great midfield, bro. You don't need Isaac. Come and collect Hoylund.
No, yeah.
Okay, before we move on from Arsenal to Liverpool, I'm going to come back to Liverpool and Arsenal because you're both in the title race. So let's play some fantasy here. We'll start with the Arsenal fan because you're the one who's playing the most fantasy in this case. You are 11 points behind with 12 games to go for you, 11 games to go for Arsenal. So what do you for Liverpool? What do you need to happen to win the league? What do you need to happen? It's still possible.
We need a total collapse from Liverpool.
Okay,
that's the only way. There's no other way because I know I can't remember it was you that was saying, Timothy was saying that this is Arsenal, not Man City. No. Arsenal last season matched it, but that was the fully complete fit squad. This Arsenal cannot match the record from last season. They cannot because they don't have the players. You cannot have 4 of your starting attackers all out. That's like having Salah, Jota, Luis Diaz, and Gakpo all out at the same time. There's just no way. So that's what Arsenal good. That's how Saka, Martinelli, Jesus, Havertz, pretty much the fresh 4 strikers are out. So it's just not possible. That's what Arsenal is dealing with now. Right? Whose fault is it? Partly their fault. But that's just the fact in which we are living right now. So in that situation, I still feel Liverpool can still get draws. Liverpool have been good in, even when they don't play well, they don't get the win, they'll get a draw. They can still drop the points. But the problem is Arsenal cannot win all the matches to get those points. So it's not even possible. So it has to mean Liverpool has to lose like half of the games, maybe. Let's start from there. I think Liverpool has to lose like these 5-6 games for us to have any hope. And I don't see Liverpool losing those games. So to me, it's already a done season. That's the way I see it.
Fair enough. That's a very realistic way to put it. But it's supposed to be fantasy. It's supposed to be unrealistic.
So the board has
killed your spirit.
They have failed us. Let's just call it what it is. They failed us. And Liverpool had the same problem sometimes because Liverpool said they have the same board model, the economic, they do all the things right. Sometimes they're thinking long term, which is fine. Like I said, when it works, nobody's going to complain. But until it works, you're going to complain. And that's what we are. We are at the stage where it didn't work. If next season they buy the players and we win the league, nobody's going to complain again. But for this season, you got to hold that up.
Yeah, that's right. I know Ola was always complaining about Liverpool not spending money. Mm-hmm. He was always complaining about it. So, to be fair, that's why I said Liverpool. If Liverpool were in Arsenal shoes, Liverpool fans will be complaining today. So, Timothy, what is your prayer for the rest of the season? Because as it looks, you're walking away with the league.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, today was key. Like winning today, I was talking about earlier in the day when we were doing like pre-match and stuff like that. I felt like we win today, and it's not over till it's over. I get that, but I kind of figured, and we're talking about earlier because I just don't see Arsenal. I can see us losing like 11 points, like in the 11 games. You got a couple of like tough games along the way there. Even if we do, I just don't see that. Not only Arsenal have to win all their games, one of those is playing us at Anfield, and the whole scenario of Arsenal being even in the title race really hinged on them winning at Anfield, because otherwise it's pointless. That's like a 6-point game, if you will. And that was tough by itself. I think going into this weekend, everybody was getting a little antsy, like with the Villa and stuff like that, and really it was in Arsenal's hands, I thought. So thanks again. But, like yesterday, if they win that game, that puts immense pressure, not only the team on my health, but so when Arsenal loses that game yesterday, I took even today as more like a freebie. Like whatever you do doesn't matter. A draw like we were talking about on Friday, a draw would not be great, but it wouldn't be too bad, but it wouldn't be good at all. After the Arsenal result, it felt like today, even the draw would not be bad because you're actually, even though you're dropping points, you're extending the lead somehow because Arsenal's losing. I mean, getting a win, which I mean, I think we have 11 games left. 7 of them are at Anfield. So, and you would think, you're not going to lose as many games that it takes for Arsenal to catch up. You don't have a lot of like away games left. So, and like I say, we will get across the line unless a catastrophe happens or something.
It's actually quite obvious with 7 home games.
Yeah,
it's really the chances are much slimmer because Arsenal need you guys to lose 4 games.
Yes,
and then of course Arsenal has a game in hand, so it's win the game in hand, and then Liverpool lose 3 games. But still 4 games, only 4 away games means because it's the one thing Liverpool have had for years recently is that invincibility at home. It's very hard to beat Liverpool at Anfield. It's really, really a very tough place to go. So it's
I mean, this team doesn't. That's another thing. Like even these results that felt like a loss to us, because it's been like this is not how it works. Like if you got into this Premier League thing in the last 4 or 5 years, you think this is how it normally is. 2 teams winning every freaking game and goes to 90 points. That's not. I mean, you go back. I mean, you're a United fan. How many times have United backed into titles just winning ugly, but with nobody just running away with it? So now fans feel like when you don't win, it almost feels like a loss because you're kind of used to that. You have to get 3 points all the time kind of a concept. So even these games that felt like a loss, they were not losses. They were like draws. So I don't see this team winning that many. I mean, we've lost once all season to that Forest game at home. So I don't see us losing that many games, which means even if you lose points, you're losing 2 points at a time, assuming Arsenal wins. Like I say, unless there's like a huge collapse, I just don't see us losing it after today's result. Today was huge because it was probably the toughest fixture we have left, especially away. So winning that was huge. A place that we haven't won in like a decade and stuff like that. So gotta love it. But I mean, I do agree to Ovi. I mean, like the injuries thing. And if I'm an Arsenal fan, I would be livid that they didn't do anything in January, already seeing the picture. But like you're saying, they have spent the money. I think this is, I mean, I can't stand Arteta personally, so I enjoy this more than I probably should. But, I think this is Arteta trying to be the genius. He's brought over, like, why did he buy Sterling? I mean, like, it's pretty sad when you're playing a midfielder over Sterling up top now because Sterling is so bad. He's gone and gotten, when you get a team, when a coach gets a guy from his old team, you would think he's bringing him in to like kind of play his philosophy. He gets it. He's going to bring a lot, right? I mean, he's literally gone, and I almost thought it was a conspiracy. He was going helping out Pep with his wages and stuff like that, buying like Zinchenko and Jesus and Sterling. I mean? Like you bring these guys, so they have spent money. I don't think it has been smart. Meanwhile, we haven't spent any money, which was right. I know Liverpool fans hated it. I know Ola is one of them. He hated it. But I think it was the smartest thing to do with a new manager because he keeps even saying that it's a huge level. Like he's seeing Costas is not that good, and he's not, don't get me wrong, but he's a lot better than probably most like left backs in the Dutch league, right? So for him to kind of get used to the Premier League guys and say, I expect a big offseason now, for example, one, you didn't spend money, so you kind of like have money to spend. And now he can say, you know what, this league needs this. This is what I need in this player. So he can get some guys that fits his system. There are some guys on this team like that just don't fit, but he's making the best out of them, and that's a lot of credit to Slot.
You will have a bigger issue. The biggest issue this offseason would not actually be signing players, or be keeping those players, because you have to deal with your 3 best players and Van Dijk, Salah, and
I think that's a done deal.
Huh?
I think that's a done deal. I think 2 of those guys are staying and Trent is leaving, and you can't. That's my theory. Not that I have like insider information or anything, but I feel like if that's the case, you can't. The club can't go out and say he's done. This guy's a problem over here, because that's throwing Trent under the bus. So you listen to these guys, I feel like Van Dijk stays, Mo stays, which I feel like are the most important, because you can get a right back to fit slot system and do a lot of. Trent does maybe better defensively, probably not as good passing wise. But I think those two guys, the way they talk, the way they get along with slots, the way they play, it just tells. It doesn't look like guys with one foot out the door. It just looks like guys who are here and like what's going on and stuff. And winning helps, right? Like, obviously winning helps the mood. So I think they stay. I know what you mean, but I'm for some reason I'm not worried at all. I feel like it's done. They just can't announce it because that's
it's
totally the
confidence you have when you're winning the title.
Maybe that's what it is. Yeah,
you feel so cool. You feel so relaxed about everything. So we're gonna take some quick comments and then we'll move on. Linga is welcoming you. She say hi, Timu. How random. Welcome. And then Ayo goes. Liverpool are by far the best front office out of all the big 6 EPL sides.
yes.
Definitely, that is true. No arguments. And then Lingard says, I would keep 10 Darwin noodles over Hoyland, to be honest. Yeah, nobody likes Hoyland, so that's a given. So let's stick with the Premier League. There's this thing I brought up this topic myself. I think the Premier League is becoming more of a pot-bellied league. And when I mean pot-bellied is, when the Premier League started at the beginning, there were the big traditional sides, the sides that were winning before, the Liverpool, Arsenal, the old glory guys, Manchester United, Everton, Aston Villa, the big teams. And then there were the smaller ones like Chelsea, but they were not that small as well, Spurs. Then the league kept growing. And then now we're at a stage where there's actually what you would call 2 or 3 great sides. If you want to draw a line, you could say Liverpool, Man City, ignore the season, and Arsenal are caught above the rest. But I could actually swear that the rest of the teams from 4th all the way to 15th are probably almost all equal. Separate them by 1 or 2 things every season. So you've got a league that's so thick in the middle, really pot-bellied, where there's a lot of rumbling going on, where if Crystal Palace has a good break, they're coming to the top 6. West Ham, Everton, even Everton with their struggles, you can see now getting a good manager, they're kind of rising closer to 10th. You see the speed with which Manchester United and Spurs dropped to the bottom of that 5th, those 4th to 15. And then you look at the speed at which Bournemouth, Brentford kind of sped up. So you're looking at a league where the middle of that league is like anybody's league. So what do you guys think about that? I'll start with you, Ovi.
Yeah, I mean, over the years, with all the money that's come into the league, it has helped the competition and helped stabilize a lot of clubs. What we used to call mid-table clubs. So, for example, in the olden days, in the past, Mbeumo is playing well. Arsenal or Liverpool want Mbeumo. They go there, drop 40 million. Brentford sells Mbeumo. But right now, they will just say, no, it's not for sale. We don't care. If you want him, bring 100 million. Because they have the money and they have staying in the league is more important for them than any small change they will make. So for you to make it worth their while, you will have to go above the market price to get that player. Take, for example, Isaac. Good player, good striker, coming, looks like maybe one of the best strikers, one of the better strikers in Europe. Newcastle can just say, if you want him, he has 3 years left on his contract, bring 120, 150 million. If you want him, pay. If not, leave us alone. So once those mid-table clubs are able to attract younger players from other leagues that we're not really aware of, but can come and fit into the system, all it takes is for those clubs that are below the top 3 to have a couple of injuries. Look at Man U, Tottenham, just a couple of injuries, defense, and you have Crystal Palace, Man U, you think Crystal Palace has a good chance to win the game. So the mid-sized clubs have been backed by the league financially for so many years that even them can keep good players. So you just can't. Man, you cannot just go to Crystal Palace and say, "Oh, Mateta is scoring. I want to get Mateta." They'll be like, "Bring 80 million. If not, leave us alone." So once you can have that, it means the mid-sized clubs can keep their good players. Once the other top six, the usual top six, but not in the top three anymore, have bad management, new manager, a little bit of boardroom disharmony, a few injuries, doesn't take much. And they just become an average team, just like every other team. And those teams, those other smaller teams, even look better because those teams are refined with their resources for maximum output. So, like a Brighton, a Brentford, they have very good young coaches. They have very good systems. They have a coach that pays attention to details. They have good scouting networks. So those teams are well run. They might not have the money of Man U and Tottenham, but they are well run. So even the team that has more money, if you're not well run, it doesn't take much. And then you're back to their level. So that's what's going on. The mid-sized teams are so efficiently run, have enough money that for you to make them weak by buying their best players, you have to go above and beyond, which you really can't do unless maybe there's a clause or something. A lot of English clubs don't use clauses, but it's like the way Liverpool was able to take advantage of McAllister. Other than that, you want to go to Brighton and buy a player from them, they'll just tell you 100 million. Take it or leave it. It's up to you. So, but they were lucky. Liverpool were lucky. McAllister had a clause. They were able to activate the clause. So I'm saying, so those smaller clubs are so well run that even the big clubs, if you are not well run, it doesn't take much for those teams to overtake you. So you just, and of course, like I said, injuries, other little things. It doesn't. I mean, you just, and like I said, there's the way every year it seems like Brighton, Brentford, they keep buying these young gems. So the scouting network is on point. They're getting these young players that they will sell at a profit in a few years' time, but they're getting them young, getting them used to the league, and they're selling them. Look at Caicedo, they bought for like what, 5 million, sold him for 100.
Less than 5 million.
Yeah, so you can imagine the profit on that kind of transaction. After like 1 or 2 years, you're making that kind of money. So now you have that 100 million in your pocket to do whatever you want to do with. So of course you're going to be able to buy better players and keep those players by giving them better contracts. So I mean, I think that's the problem. And of course, PSR is not helping because even the big clubs that want to spend, like Newcastle, they can't spend. Yeah. Like Aston Villa, they can't spend. Yeah, owner wants to spend money, but he had to sell one striker. He came to
Nottingham Forest got into trouble for spending money.
Exactly. Yeah. Aston Villa, a team fighting for top 4, top 5, went to another top 5 team and said, "Take our best striker, just give us 60 million," because of PSR. So it's affected them. They have to make a choice. Newcastle want to buy everybody, but they can't. Even Isaac, they can't give him a new contract because of PSR. They are waiting for the next transfer cycle to come and let them share some players. They can offer him a new contract. So I've got that all that is affecting clubs like Man U and Tottenham that are not well run because they're not bringing them back to the level of those.
Can you discuss this without mentioning Manchester? You've mentioned Manchester United like 4 times now. What's going on here?
No, because that's the club that is not well run. They're a very good example. Like the perfect example. They are the perfect example. They spend so much money and it's just not working. So they're the perfect example to use. Tottenham, I can say, okay, injuries, because Tottenham bought young players are coming up, but a lot of injuries have decimated their defense. But Man U have actually, you look at Man U and you wonder, like, why are you struggling?
That's the definition of waste.
Yeah, they've just wasted so much money on average players. And I mean, you can say, oh, at least they're trying. But when it doesn't work, this is what Arsenal is afraid of. They don't want to buy average players for big money and be stuck with these players. Because when you buy those players and give them those high wages, unless they're going to Saudi, nobody's picking those players off you. You're going to be stuck with the players. And that's what happens to Man U. That you got Højlund, you got the guy from Casemiro. I remember when Man U said, oh, we bought Varane, you bought Ben White. I was like, Varane is almost already 30. You're buying him for what he has done, not what he's going to do for you. Yeah. After this, buying a Ben White for what he's going to do for them. They're 2 different things. But Man U they always want to buy the clout, the name player, the big player. They want to buy. I'm like, Casemiro is, for Madrid to let Casemiro go, you have to be wary of those kind of deals. Be very wary because they know what they're doing. So stuff like that is like I said, they're not planning well. They're making love because now Casemiro is there, he's not playing, but he's collecting what 300k plus a week, and they cannot.
350.
Yeah, they cannot shift him anywhere, right? He's just stuck there. He said, "I love the club. I want to fit my contract." What do you want him to say?
Now, I would love any club that pays me 350k a week.
Exactly.
I would love. Oh, I mean, if Liverpool wants to pay me 350k to love them,
you can have them.
pleasure.
When you're in your 30s, you're about to finish your contract. I mean, your career. What are you doing? So it's stuff like that you got to be wiser. And like I said, that's what I was afraid of with someone like Watkins. But at the end of the day, like I said, they gave up. They made their bet, so they will lie in it. They'll take all the banter. They'll take all the criticism. Next season, if they buy the player that they said they were saving all this money for, everybody will relax. If they don't buy it, then the criticism will even increase.
Let me take comments here, then I'll shift to Timuchin. We have Ayo saying that I think it's simple. Most EPL teams have become smarter in recruitment of players and managers. That's true. I think a lot of the managers in the Premier League are the best in the world, especially the young ones. Like, look at that guy that came to Brighton this season. Like, he's a gem. Ogapame says this man just called the Premier League fat. Lizzo settings. Quite true. I mean, by the way, have you seen Lizzo recently? Ozempic is working wonders. And Akinola Adigun says improved player data analysis, tactical evolution, and improved coaching. The global appeal of the EPL has also caused heavy financial investment in the traditional mid-table teams. That's true. A lot of new owners have come in and they've really put in money into the clubs. And Ogakwame finally says, Wallahi, I hate this OV guy with love, but he's spitting facts. The truth hurts. You know, that's unfortunately, Ovi, I can't argue with you. What you said is true. I'm a Man United fan. I hate to hear it too, but it's the truth. So, Timuchin, please, what do you think
a fat
about?
joke in there. Why you're asking me about fatness? I mean, Ovi is right on a lot of. I think obviously everything comes down to money, right? Sadly, the supporters heading that way. Everything is coming down to money. So I think, you know, when you look at the squads from like those top teams to the next team, more than the starting 11s, the huge gap is depth usually, right? Like the guy can bring, even with injuries, they can have more guys sitting on the back. I mean, I think like probably all those top teams, you look at the bench, all those guys are starters for their national team and stuff. But I think what has happened was the force, like the need to, because of the like the requirements and stuff like that they have to actually sell, they can't keep stocking up. And I think what the mid-table teams have done is, one, they know the other guys have to buy, right? But then they also have to sell. So they know, I mean, if I have a kid, no offense to United, like if, you know, United is interested in him and Brighton is interested in him, right? It's like an 18-year-old kid with a bit of potential. I would say go to Brighton with all things being equal, because I think that they can attract a lot more people now. One, they have money. And Brighton is an example of a team that does it perfectly, but you can apply that for a lot of teams in middle of the table. They can attract players because people are coming to the Premier League ultimately. So whether it's from like South America, whether it's from Portugal, Dutch league, whatever, they're coming to the Premier League. So they're taking a step up. And I think players know that this is the system over here. So if my eventual step or ideal step is to play for Liverpool, play for, you know, City or whatever, this is a step. Like I take this step, I go to Brighton. When I do well in Brighton is never going to keep me. They might put my tag up, but they're going to sell me. So they can take that money, reinvest, and you can roll the dice a lot more when you have 100 million coming from Caicedo. You can roll the dice 10 times with young players. And then you hit with 2 of them, get another 100 million, you go gambling again. And that's how you become an addict. But, you know, that's kind of like what they're basically doing, right? So I think that's what kind of has evolved these teams to have a lot more quality players. Sadly, as in many occasions now, I'm probably the oldest guy here. But when you look back like a decade or 2 ago, right, when you played a mid-table team, there was usually 1 guy, maybe 2 you worried about, right? Like you were like, stop that guy, they're done. Whereas now every team has some quality. So you make a stupid mistake in the back and lose the ball, they're going to make you pay. I think every team has more players that can make you pay. So those mistakes that would not have been as costly maybe like 10 years ago is costly now. You concede. Now you're in the hole, you lose points, they gain points. And I think that kind of has helped. And I guess they can argue that with these wage requirements and stuff that City dances around ultimately has paid off, because these top teams can't stock up on stuff, and they have to be a lot smarter buying people. And you can't roll the dice spending, doing what, like, I mean, I'm preaching to the choir for United, for example, which is like what are you guys doing? So it's not, and I think that's what fans have to understand. People look at how much money net spend and stuff like that. Like, what do we care? As fans, I mean, I only care what I see on the pitch. I don't care if you bought that for $10. Like, it doesn't do me, like, you spending money, it doesn't do me any good if the final product is not good. So I think some fans put so much stock into how much did we spend. I really don't care how much we spend. If you go get Mo for $5 million and Van Dijk for $8 million, more power to you. That's you doing good business. I know they didn't cost that, but you know what I mean? Like, so I think people put too much stock on how much money is being spent as opposed to how wisely it's being spent. So you have some of these boards that go out of their way and spend just to see people, so people see you shopping in the mall, right? So you're buying a designer shirt, but you don't have freaking shoes to wear with it. So you're just like, like you're out. But then some fans are happy because they're like, look who they bought. Yeah, but they didn't address, similar to what Ovi's situation, they didn't address what the need was. So what good is spending money? But I think they've spent money wiser. They've seen it's a business. I mean, this has become a business, right? So there's a lot of good businessmen out there running these teams. So they know that's where the potential is. You go get a guy from the Dutch league for 10 million, 15 million. He plays one good season. That's all it takes. And then you return 400%, 600% on your investment. I mean, look at Caicedo and stuff. I mean, just ridiculous money being thrown around. So,
and there's another part of this where I think we missed, which is that it's not only getting players from South America, because that's going to scout young players from unknown leagues and taking a lot of risk. There's another part of it where you said, Timothy, that these clubs can stack. So guess what happens? Because Man City cannot stack players, Chelsea cannot stack players. It can't be that time that Chelsea had 100 players in the reserves.
Yep.
What does Brighton and Bournemouth do? If you look at Bournemouth, for example, 2 of their strikers are from Premier League teams.
Yeah.
And then this guy they sold to Spurs, what's his name? The striker.
Solanke.
Solanke, I believe, was from Arsenal Academy or Chelsea Academy.
Chelsea to Liverpool to Bournemouth, yeah.
Yes, Chelsea to Liverpool. Then he went to Bournemouth and got his chance. And that's the same thing they're doing. If you go to Brighton, Bournemouth, look at some of these small clubs, you would also see a lot of guys that are from the academies or these other clubs. Because when you said if I was a parent and my kid was 18, what some parents are now doing is don't sign a contract. Don't sign a professional contract with that club. They're not going to play you at Arsenal. They're not going to play at Manchester United. They're not going to play at Liverpool. Go to Brighton and play. Then you can come back to Liverpool and get wages. But if you sign a contract, you're going to sit down here for the next 5 years going on loan all around the place. Yep. And so that also helps because you're getting premium academy players that have been coached well and, trained well all their lives to now come in and they're ready to make that step up. And so this is a big opportunity. I foresee a future where apart from the top teams in Europe, which is the Barcelonas, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid's, PSG's, and a few others, a lot of Premier League clubs are going to start dominating European competition. These are teams that people would think are average because if Brighton keeps improving, Bournemouth keeps improving, they're going to go into a Europa League, a Conference League, and dominate it easily. It's looking like that's what's going to be in the future. So now let's segue with that. But before we do that, there's actually a comment here from Ayo. Ayo says, I 100% agree with Timothy. In addition, agents also drive this because they know they can get that big money move and big commission after proving themselves. So agents push their players to the smaller clubs, and then from the smaller clubs, they move on to the Arsenals and the Chelseas, the Liverpools to make that big money. So now let's do a quick Champions League roundup. I'll say more of a preview because we've got some juicy games coming up. Juicy games. Liverpool has a juicy one.
Yeah.
What's her name? Arsenal have a very, very lucky one. Also, you seem to be maybe this year you can focus on winning that thing you've not won since forever. So now let's start with the Arsenal guy because you should be quick. What do you foresee Arsenal PSG? Just quick one. It shouldn't be. There's nothing too much to say. We all expect Arsenal to win, right? End of discussion. We move on.
Yeah. So the only thing I would say is we are on the wrong side of the draw. We're either going to play PSV or Feyenoord. So PSV means you're on the side with Madrid, Liverpool, PSG. And then if you had gotten Feyenoord, then you'll be on the other side, which looks a little easier. So PSV on paper, you expect Arsenal to win PSV. Whether they have strikers or not, just you expect them to win. But even if you do win, your next match is going to be against Atletico or Real Madrid. And I don't see, I'm as optimistic as they come. But I watch Mbappe and I'm scared when I see him running. He looks so quick and fast. Looks like he's getting better and better every day. I don't see how you beat Real Madrid. Even if somehow Atletico Madrid win, Atletico Madrid is such a tactical team that I don't even see Arsenal outsmarting them. The current Arsenal right now with the current squad that we have. So PSV, everybody expects. I think what fans are hoping for is Arsenal beats PSV and hopefully before the next round, before the quarterfinals, get Saka, Martinelli back and then hope for the best. That's the best case scenario. But even at that, I'm saying Atletico are such seasoned veterans of Champions League that
you stand a better chance of beating Real Madrid than beating Atletico.
I feel like they have a better chance of beating Real Madrid than beating Atletico. Atletico is so tenacious and so street smart that I just don't see how this Arsenal squad will beat them. Madrid, I feel like they can have an off day. It's possible. But Atletico, I don't see how we can even beat that kind of team because they are just too tenacious and technical and dirty and smart. Like, I just don't see how we can beat that. But Madrid will just overpower us because they're just much better.
Yeah.
So even if you manage to beat PSV, I don't. And above PSV, I think that's it. But for Arsenal, I think we just have to beat PSV and hope for the best from there.
So fair enough. That's a good way to put it. So your favorites?
Yeah, for PSV, yes, we are favorites.
There's no excuses.
Now they have whether they have only one striker, they have two. That's their business. They have
to win.
They have to win anyhow. They have to win. That's it.
Yeah. So let's go to the man with excuses. Timuchin. Is this the end of the Slot lock? Because Slot has been the luckiest manager this season. Is this where his luck runs out? Because this PSG team, let me kind of put an intro to them. They looked like a poor team beginning of this season. It looked like Luis Enrique was going to be fired. Then in the past 2-3 months, they turned around and look like the best team in Europe, apart from Real Madrid, who were very poor, and also now they're looking like the best. But honestly, in the Champions League since November, December, they have looked like they could beat anyone. The PSG. So do you have any fear does Liverpool have any fear going into this game?
Yeah, I mean, it's not the best. I would have probably preferred Benfica. I'm kind of not too thrilled about this whole setup of the Champions League. I've been bitching about it for months now because there should be a bigger prize for beating the crap out of everybody in the initial stages and then still like there should be more of a prize. We should be automatically in the last 8 or something like that. But I'm sure they'll tweak some stuff because I'm sure they didn't like seeing City already out of it with like Real early and stuff anyway. But yeah, I would have preferred Benfica. I'm not one of these guys that say we gotta beat the best to be the best and stuff. I don't care if he back into the finals. I'd rather have like the easiest way possible. With PSG, a game like today gives me hope. I would be a bit more worried, for example, in Klopp's system personally, because they have guys who can hurt you with their speed up top. And then, they have some good attacking players, but all those attacking players don't help their defense. So I think that's why PSG can be had. You just got to be able to stop them. A game like today where we played against City, this team can play to stop people. Whereas before we didn't have that setting. We would just go at it. And then if we have to win 5-3, we'll win 5-3, but we would not like a 2-0 game under the Klopp era. I mean, this team, you say luck, but honestly, when you look at the draw that Liverpool had, we've played some top teams in the group stages. They played Real, they played Bayer Leverkusen, and they beat all those teams handily. They lost to your PSV, OV, but that was like all the backups and stuff like that. So heads up on that. But that was like all backups, so I don't even count that. But they beat some top teams, so I have faith in the team. It's not the easiest, but at this level in the Champions League, you're not gonna get a team from Estonia. It's all gonna be top teams that you're going to play against. So you got to be able to stop them. I have more faith in this slot system stopping a team like PSG than I would before, because I think we're a bit more balanced and we're not going to let them suddenly run behind us and stuff like that.
Especially with Salah playing like he's Messi.
Yeah.
You can beat anyone with that guy playing that way. He's scary. He's a monster right now.
He is, man. But here's another thing, if this league keeps going like this, like if we win on Wednesday, for example, Arsenal has a really tough game away at Forest. I actually thought, you guys will lose points there, and like West Ham was 3 points in the bag. So I really feel like that's a tough away game. That gives Liverpool more chance to rotate. So instead of, setting up your lineup for the weekend and backtrack into the Champions League, it's the other way around. You decide what 11 you want going against PSG, and you rotate against, the Premier League team accordingly, because you have such a big lead. It's not a huge deal to take those rotation changes. So sealing this deal earlier can really help Liverpool in the Champions League to be able to do that, rest some guys for the Champions League game and stuff like that. Because, PSG in their Farmers League, they're able to do that. They can like rest everybody in the weekend and then show up on like the Wednesday and stuff like that. So for Liverpool to be able to compete with that, for the midfield to be able to run as much as they did today, for example, it would help to be able to rotate on a weekend against, Southampton or something like that, and not be worried about the risk. Like, even if it backfires, that rotation backfires on you, you have such a point advantage that you're like, whatever, now we're going for the Champions League. So I'm hopeful. Like I say, I worry as a lifestyle, so I'm never going to be confident. But, hopefully we'll keep going. This team has the potential. That's for sure.
Oh, yes. I think, to top the Champions League group, the way they did showed how good they are. But also with Mo Salah, especially Mo Salah playing, because it's a thing in Champions League that we cannot ignore. Apart from a few times like when Chelsea won it, most teams that win the Champions League have a potent weapon up front who just destroys teams.
Yeah.
And Mo Salah is a nuclear weapon. He just, oh my goodness, that guy, he seems to want to win it.
Yes.
He's motivated to win it. Win the league or win the Champions League. He wants to win. And so, it's very hard to beat a guy who's motivated like that and who is in form.
Yeah, have somebody that good with that much motivation is a killer. You know what I mean? Like, there's a few like that in different sports, right? They're real good, but then they have the drive to put on top of that.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned Messi and Ronaldo, because those are the last guys I saw that had that motivation. The other person that has that motivation is old now, but he had it, was Modric, but he was a midfield. But as forwards, it was Messi and Ronaldo who would Say, I want to win. No matter what is in front of me, I am going to destroy it. I'm going to eat it today. Today I came here to eat. So put the food on the table. I'm going to eat. So we have come to the end. The notable games in the Champions League, I would say, apart from that, would be Dortmund and Lisbon. That's a very balanced game. I can't really tell you who's going to win that. Sorry, not Dortmund and Lisbon. I meant Dortmund and Lille. Lille is an underrated team. Lille were almost in the original automatic qualifiers. They're very good. They have a very balanced team. And of course, the star game is Real Atletico. With that game, nobody here is going to bet. Nobody. You can't really say Real Madrid are going to beat Atletico. That's one game we will all come out. We'll all watch, and hope somebody wins or somebody loses, depending on what side you're looking at it from. But I personally, I'm tired of Real Madrid winning the Champions League. I want someone to knock them out quickly because they're making this league their farmers' league, and it's not fair. We're going to take these comments quickly. Then we're going to move on to kudos and donkeys. Ogakwame says PSV is going through. Certified Arsenal hater. He doesn't miss his chance. And then Akinola Digun, who happens to be Jola's brother, by the way, Gakwame's brother, he goes, no excuses, Ovi. Arsenal is winning the league. Like the UCL. I mean, at a point, you guys have to do it.
At the point, but maybe not this season.
Maybe next season. Yeah.
I mean, wait, you are beginning to agree with the Netflix tag. Maybe next season. Oh.
What do you want me to do?
Okay, guys.
Agree with them.
It's time for kudos and donkey of the week, and of course, the kudos goes to the best performance or whatever you want to give kudos to with regards to football or real life for the past 7 days. And donkey, whoever has been a real donkey for the week. So, who wants to start?
Obi, you go, man. This was a curveball, so I gotta prepare my stuff.
Okay,
fine, that's fine. I mean, it's pretty easy for me. Like we just discussed, Premier League clubs are doing well, and there are a lot of teams with surprise results every now and then. The Brightons, the Brentford, you see 4-0 out of nowhere. Crystal Palace winning games. So it's a very interesting league. This is why we watch the league, right? But I mean, for my kudos, I mean, it just has to go to Liverpool. Today, the game today was so professional. And Slot has done a good job. Slot has done a very good job coming into the league with very little investment and be able to just carry on from what the previous manager did, just building and strengthening, repurposing players. You have to give it to them. They played a good game today. They pretty much technically have won the league with this game today. I mean, it's not over until it's over, but this was the one game everybody was looking at. This is the game they would drop points. Can you imagine if Arsenal win, they drop this on the Arsenal is 2 points, 5 points behind, the game behind and all that. But they won the game. Arsenal lost their game against West Ham. So kudos to Liverpool. When they first started the season, I was like, nah, they're playing easy games, home games is easy, they're playing. But the more the season has gone on, the more they've been able to win those hard games that have come up whenever they've come up. You can only beat what's in front of you. And they've done that. They've won what's in front of them at any time. So kudos to them. Donkey of the week, it has to go to Arsenal. Because the Arsenal
Take mine away, man.
When I say Arsenal, I mean the people making decisions. Because every game you don't win, you're going to hear people come out and bash the club, banter the club. All this is bad PR. I know people say, oh, PR, it doesn't matter, just PR. PR is important. That's why they spend a lot of money on PR. It is important. It is when people feel good about what you're doing, you will start to get breaks. So PR is important. People just think, oh, Arsenal, they always play well, but they never win the league. They will come second. Once that narrative continues to fester on, it's hard to break out of that cycle. So this was last season. I felt like they should have won the league. This season, on paper, when Man City was dropping out, you expected them to win the league. So the fact that they do the right things, it's disheartening for people who spend their money, who hope and who support this club. So for them, like I said, and I include the manager in this because he's not a coach, he's a manager. He makes decisions in who players they get and all that. So he has to take some blame. But at the end of the day, you cannot. We were short before the season started. On the last day, they said, "Oh, you know what? We have nobody. Let's just get Sterling on loan." We're still short then. Then you lost Saka and Jesus. They said, we want to get the perfect player. And then you lost Havertz. And so at this point, yes, you can say you're unlucky, but you could have done things to mitigate this. So at the end of the day, every time they lose, they're going to be the donkey because this is going to be a festering issue and problem and talking point. Because when you win, you're peeping over the crack. We're going to be like, oh, we won like last week, we won against Merino. Oh, Merino came in his first night striker. Fine. Whenever you lose, they're going to be like, if only you had bought players. Liverpool drew with Aston Villa, you could have closed the gap. I mean, so stuff like that is always going to come up. And we're just in February. We still have 3 more months to go. So you can imagine how that's going. And you cannot do anything right now. You cannot buy any new players. It's over. Waiting. So they have to take this big donkey sign and be good with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Timuchin.
It's probably gonna be close, but I will single out a couple of guys for like the kudos. I'll go to like the leaders at Liverpool, like Van Dijk and Mo. I think that's like the difference. When you're in a title race, you need characters like that. And Van Dijk has been, Hendo was like a great extension of Klopp in terms of the craziness, yelling and screaming and stuff. And I feel like Van Dijk is a great extension of Slot as the captain on the pitch. More like trying to keep things calm, keeping everybody on the same page and stuff like that. And to have a guy like Mo, I think you have these two guys who've been there, done that, knows what it takes, and knows that there are hiccups along the way, and you got to be able to bounce back from them. I really think, and I know we talk about injuries and stuff, but I think that's a huge difference between, that was the deciding factor, I thought, last year between City and Arsenal, and I think it's the same thing with Liverpool and stuff too. Like I say, you can't discount injuries, but even without the injuries, I think there is more calmer leadership, and I know it comes easier as you win. But, when you have hiccups, that's when those guys kick in. A couple of draws and the way they kind of like have calmed everything down and say game at a time and stuff. And I know it's like, media talk, but those guys set a great example. So I'll give the kudos to them. I'm extremely impressed with like Van Dijk today, Mo every freaking week. I mean, those guys set a standard. And you hear, I mean, I'm sure you guys, see a lot. Maybe you might be avoiding like the United media content, but I know, like, like all these like meetings, interviews, and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I hear it from all these players talking about Mo and what they've learned from him in terms of professionalism, how to take care of yourself, how to keep increasing the standards, taking care of your body, constantly working out, improving your game and stuff like that. And these are like guys young like Elliott's or experienced like McAllister and stuff like that saying that. So you need people like that in your club. So I'll give the kudos to those. The donkey, Ovi already hammered the hell out of him, so I'm not going to pile on and pick Arsenal. It's probably an easy pick losing to West Ham. I'll actually go City, especially if we're looking at the whole week out of the Champions League, because you feel like if you put in that much money into the team in January, you're either afraid of what's going to come out of the courts, so you got to spend the money because maybe you're not going to be allowed to spend it in the summer or something like that. That's coming. Or you're saying, what, we got one shot. Maybe we can go for the Champions League, and you dump the money in. 200 million is a lot to spend in the January window. So like I said, it's one or the other for me. Either they said, let's go improve so we can go for the Champions League, or they said, we got a Chelsea-like ban coming down in summer. Let's spend the money now. We might not be able to spend it then. Either or. But I think getting eliminated from the Champions League is a huge, kick in that
manner.
Yeah, exactly. Like kind of like, and you look at him even today, it's a joy to see a team suffering like that with all those allegations, but they look old and tired, man. They look old and tired. I think
they look like noisy neighbors right now,
Yeah, I think like one of you guys were saying it earlier. It looks like that team with like Fabinho and Henderson, like where it was just like everybody's like dead legs kind of a thing, run into the ground. That's how they look. Like they can't. It's almost like they're running in like quicksand or something like that. Like I say, it's a joy to see. But I put them as the donkey of the week because I think you can kind of see that they have so many problems, and getting out of the Champions League can't help the cause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So honestly, what do you guys really think of the allegation? Do you think it's in City's favor or it's going to go against them?
If it doesn't go against them, there will be uproar.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very hard, especially with what has leaked, for City not to be found guilty. They might not be found guilty of everything, but 115 allegations. It's going to be embarrassing for the Premier League if they were not found guilty, and then they have like punished Everton and co. Like there will be mutiny in the league, so they have to find them guilty. I don't think
they're going to get the punishment we would like them to get. Right,
that we are not sure of because
they're not going to get something that's severe, but they will get something.
They will get something. Yeah, they will appeal from now for the next 10 years. They have the money. So. This is the last comment for the day. Akinola Digun says the donkey of the week is Ashley Young for diving. Yeah, I mean, like finally his dives catch up with him. And then he says his kudos is Timuchin, very level-headed fan. Arsenal fans have a lot to learn. Oh God. Okay, my donkey of the week is Man City. You already said everything I need to say. I'll just agree with you, Timuchin. That's quite true. The manner of the losses were also very embarrassing. From the last at 84th minute at home, they were leading 2-0 and they still lost that game. And then this week they lost. And then they lost again this Sunday, so it's so embarrassing. And then finally, the kudos of the week. I could have said Liverpool, but there was a special performance this week, and it was by a man called Kylian Mbappe, who's beginning to live up to his name at Liverpool, or I'm sorry, at Real Madrid, or his reputation. He's really coming on, and that's why I'm afraid Real Madrid might win the Champions League. And to add something quickly to Real Madrid, that's another team that when we mention good back rooms and good boards, good football management, that's another team we forget to mention because we always seem to look at them spending money, but we forget how well these guys spend money. Because if you think about it, you've got Vinicius, Mbappe, Rodrigo, Bellingham. I think the oldest person there might be Mbappe of those four. And
That's
then
scary.
they have replaced Kroos and Modric with Camavinga, Tchouameni, Valverde. They just brought up that Asensio guy, a right back. So right now, the only place they need to spend money is on their defense. And they're going to spend because they have the money, but they're going to spend that money well. And it's wow, man. I can only hold my hands in admiration of Real Madrid and, of course, Liverpool. The way they spend money, it's very efficient and all of that. But it's time to go. We've been here for over an hour. Quite grateful to you, Ovi. Good to see you again. Thank you, Timuchin, for coming on for the first time.
Thanks for having me.
We know we'll see you a lot. It's your season, so we know you will answer the call whenever we say, "Hey, come on!" You'll be so happy to come on because there's a lot for you to celebrate this season. Thank you, Akinola. Thank you, Oga Kwame, Ayo. Thank you, Linga. I appreciate your comments. And gentlemen, it's time to go, but we'll be back next Sunday. And so we'll see you then. Have a lovely week. And best of luck to everyone but Liverpool and Arsenal. Bye, y'all.
You're watching Footy Fantasy. It is sure say the thing will beat your football needs. Banter from rivalries, he sure you go receive. From EPL to Champions League, your eyes go see. It's Footy Fantasy. You're watching Footy Fantasy. Footy Fantasy. It is sure say the thing will meet your football. EPL to Champions League, your eyes go see, your eyes go see. It's fantastic.